89.3 and 88.5 Yes FM. Online at www.yeshome.com. Now on the free Yes FM iTunes app and the Yes FM Android app, or the free TuneIn Radio app. Search Yes FM Lima.
We are joined by Dave Mullins. He is the brother of Rich Mullins and producer of the film Ragamuffin, which is based on the life of Rich Mullins. Dave, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
It is good to have you on, and of course, Rich was a seminal figure in I won't say early Christian music, younger Christian music in the 80s and 90s, and not just for his music, but for his life and the way he lived, and before tragically being, going home in a car accident. What was I know his story has been told many times. Why now? Why a movie? Why at this time?
Yeah, the why is basically Dave Schultz, who was the director of the film and headed up the project. About 4 years ago, I was living in Indianapolis on staff at a church there, and he was doing a event with our young adult ministry, and talked to another guy that was on staff with me that was a friend of mine and a friend of his, and wanted to meet me, and was telling me about the impact of Rich's life on his life, and the way that God had used Rich's story to really draw him closer to God, and said, if I were a writer, I'd want to write about him. If I were a painter, I'd want to paint pictures. I'd do film stuff. My dream is to make a movie about him. And he was like, if God used his story to impact my life, I think he can still use it. So, so that's kind of how the project started, and a little bit why, it's been 16 years since the accident. And I think the elapsed time has actually been a good thing. Just to be sure, of your motivations. It's not about, hey, how much, can we capitalize on his popularity? If we were, shooting for that, we would have done something a long time ago. And actually, it's not something we ever thought we would be interested in. But something about Dave's heart and the thing that he pitched to us, and the reason for the movie, our family all agreed. And, so that's how it came about.
And I would imagine, doing it closer too. I mean, you're still dealing with the loss and maybe even now doing the film, I imagine maybe some difficult moments there. Yeah.
It certainly, the time, I think, helped it. It was way more, doing the shooting and this whole process has been more, for me, celebratory than it has been hard. But there are certainly a number of things that were hard to shoot, and even now watching the movie, there's things that are, for me, hard to watch. So, but overall, it has been a fun project just to kind of renew some friendships and talk about stories again and hear some new stories, and that's been great.
What is it like because you grew up, obviously, Rich, he's your brother, he's family. What's it like seeing someone else portray him, and how did they, how good were they in capturing his spirit and his personality?
Yeah, it was a little odd, for sure. But I think Mike Cook, who played him in the movie, Mike's actually more of a musician and artist than actor. He had not acted in a film or anything like this before. So I think because he's a musician and more of an artist kind of person, I think he captured a lot of that side of Rich pretty well. And he was a fan of Rich's. He actually was one of the guys that he went to college with Dave Schultz, the director, and they spent a lot of time listening to Rich together and talking about him and Brennan Manning and a lot of the themes of the movie. They were, he knew very well. So I think he did a really good job, especially capturing kind of the brokenness and the angst. One of the challenges of doing, a movie like this is trying to have balance. And so, you don't see the joy and the kind of fun-loving side of Rich as much in the movie, but partly because of the story that we were trying to tell and that side of things. So,
well, talk about that a little bit. The movie's called Ragamuffin, and you mentioned briefly Brennan Manning. It's off a Brennan Manning book called A Ragamuffin Gospel, and I know that had a pretty powerful impact on Rich, and they called themselves the Ragamuffin Band. Talk about that a little bit and the influence that had on him and how that plays out in the film.
Yeah, actually, Brennan was a key person in Rich's life, especially as he was going through some really hard times. And one of his good friends, David Strasser, had some cassette tapes of some messages from Brennan, and they were driving somewhere, and the way Rich tells the story, they were driving, and Beaker, Dave Strasser, wanted him to listen to these sermons, and I think Rich says within about 5 or 10 minutes of the first tape, he had to pull his car off to the side of the road and get out because he couldn't see, and it was just really Brennan's biggest theme, I think, is dealing with grace and the love of God, and I think through some of the things that Brennan had to say, God was able to really, I think, impact Rich with recognizing at a deeper level, in a different place, his love and the love of the Father. So, and I know then they had a pretty close friendship, and Brennan was instrumental in a lot of things in Rich's life, especially later in his life.
Yeah. Well, and I know because he took a bit of a different path in the Christian music industry. You know, he wrote many songs for lots of artists, probably best known for his song Awesome God. But just in terms of, how he handled his money and his material things, I know he kind of took a different path than a lot of folks.
Yeah, he really did. He, I mean, in many ways, it seems like he spent pretty much his career trying to get out of the music business.
Yeah.
But he also loved it. So, it's one of those things, I think with a lot of things, there's pieces that you love and pieces that you really hate. So, But with finance stuff, he, St. Francis of Assisi was a big influence on him as well, and how he lived his life. And one of the things that Rich did was look at the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, and kind of updated the idea of it a little bit. And I think the way that he approached it was he came to the conclusion that there were a lot of things about money that he hated and a lot of things that he loved about money.
Like all of us, yeah.
Kind of the idea of free temptation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He went, you know what? The part of me that likes this, it could get me instead of me having money. And so what he chose to do, he went to his business manager and the board that kind of helped him oversee his ministry, and decided that he wanted to just live on what the average income of a single person in America made. And so, and then he was very generous, I think, with anything that he made above and beyond that. But really, he didn't even want to know what he made. He just wanted to be paid the salary that was the average for a person in America. So,
yeah,
which is a pretty odd thing.
Yeah. It reminds me of a quote from C.S. Lewis, who was, after he started to make some money from his books, and he had given some money to this woman, and she wrote him back this letter thanking him and saying, how generous he was. And his quote was, "I'm not generous. I give this money away because I know if I keep it, it would ruin me." Yeah.
My perspective is, I think some people here, Rich, decided to, and when he died, he on the Navajo res, he had a hogan, which is a traditional Navajo house. It's like an 8-sided one-room house, and pretty much everything that he owned and had fit in the smallest U-Haul truck that you could get, including the hardtop to his Jeep, which is the only reason we even had to get that big a truck to move it from the res. But yeah, I think it was in my opinion, in my conversations with him, I think it was a realization that, man, this could have me.
Yeah.
It can divide my loyalty. And so, I think some people look at it and go, oh, money didn't matter to him. Look how amazing he was. Money didn't matter. And I think, no, how amazing that he knew that it could matter,
mm-hmm.
and chose to discipline himself by saying, not going to have it.
Yeah.
Which is probably more holy than not being tempted.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We're talking with Dave Mullins. He's the brother of Rich Mullins and producer of the new film Ragamuffin, based on the life and legacy of Rich Mullins. So in the film, what is kind of the story arc in this film? What does it focus on in his life?
Yeah, it really runs from about Rich at the age of about 6 or 7, something like that, to the accident. The things that we really try to dig into is his pursuit of God and God's love and pursuit of Rich. For me, it really kind of covers Paul in Philippians 1:6 as being confident that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. And I think the movie is a picture of that. It's not always the picture we would like to paint of that process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's not neat and tidy. It's
right.
not the typical Christian movie where there's brokenness and fallenness, and then you meet Jesus, and ta-da, it's all fixed, and you never struggle anymore. It's this weird mix of holiness and fallenness, of redemption and of brokenness and healing, all intermingled as God worked that process out in it. So
now, and I asked you how odd it was to see someone portray your brother. Does someone portray you, especially at a younger age? And how weird is that for you to watch that?
Well, there's a kid that's in the movie that's supposed to be me, but there are no lines, and yeah.
Oh, so
yeah,
you don't even get a speaking part. Oh,
no, I didn't make the cut.
Oh,
so,
man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is all right. So. Plus, it helps me to be able to go, when people go, well, why wasn't I in the movie? I can go, well, neither was I.
Yeah,
so,
and I'm the producer. Good grief, and I'm his brother.
We don't have anything that deals with his relationship with me, so it'll be all right.
Yeah, if I don't make it, you don't make it.
Yeah.
Dave Mullins, the film is Ragamuffin. Hey, Dave, if folks want to find out more about the movie, how can they do so?
If you're on Facebook, you can go to Rich Mullins Movie on Facebook. You can also go to, I am so bad with details, ragamuffinthemovie.com.
Yep. That's
also, we are in the process. We're going to do a limited theatrical release, and if in Toledo or there in that area, if you want to bring it to the area, you can go to seatzzy.com/ragamuffin, and Seatzzy is like CATZY, and basically what it is kind of a Kickstarter to bring movies into theaters.
Okay.
And if people want to do it, you can start a campaign to bring it into the area. And if you sell, we're going to have it in theaters May 2nd through 4th. And so there's probably 13 to 16 showings available in that time in any particular theater. If you can sell 500 pre-sale tickets, then we can book a theater in your area.
Okay.
If it doesn't sell that many, you don't owe anything. So it's not like, oh, I bought tickets for a movie that never even showed up.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about that. I think right now there's about 23 or so cities across the country that are in the process. So
very cool. Well, yeah, we'd love to have it here. So once again, that website, it's Seatzzy.
Seatzzy.com/ragamuffin.
There you go. Hey, David, thanks so much for joining us this morning. It's been great talking with you.
Absolutely great. I appreciate having me on.
You bet. God bless, brother.
And you.
Yes, FM.